Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. TGIF, baby. The grind includes Fridays. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Mr. Flynn coming to you guys. Got some beast mode accountability for you. This is one of my favorite topics to go into, and it just so happens to be one of my favorite quotes that I like to put out there, which is that eventually is synonymous with never. Eventually is synonymous with never. And I really, honestly, I could just leave it at that, right? I could just leave it at that because it speaks for itself. But I'm gonna dive into it and explain what I mean, of course. But it does speak for itself. Eventually is synonymous with never, right? And this is a perfect month to be talking about that, right? January's coming to a close, and kick off, start to a new year. Of course, everybody's got their New Year's resolutions that they put out there, but it doesn't take long for the stalls with those resolutions to kick in. It doesn't wait long for the stalls with the forward progression to kick in, right? Eventually. Some people start off the new year and they maybe have an idea of something they want to do, some sort of a resolution they want to do. And, but it's kind of like the whole, oh yeah, I know everybody else is starting the resolutions now, but man, I'm gonna, give me a couple weeks. I'm gonna jump in a couple weeks. Let me just get through. I'm really busy with work right now. Let me just get through these next 2 months. And then, eventually I'll get around to it. Right? Maybe you want to start a business, right? And maybe you've had this idea forever. Man, you've had this idea forever. And if you go back, 3, 4, 5 years, when you first had the idea of something that you wanted to do, which would be pretty badass and pretty epic, right? And, at that point, it was an eventually, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to get to that one of these days. One of these days, I'm going to get to that. Yeah, eventually I'm going to kick into that. And then you fast forward 5 years, and you're still saying the same damn thing. Oh yeah. Ah, man, I've had this idea forever. One of these days, I'm going to do it. One of these days, I'm going to do it. Maybe it could be anything, all right? It could be anything. But when it comes down to that eventually word, man, I hate that eventually word. In the time, in the day and age of those that are hungry and those that are out there tackling their obstacles, their dreams, their goals, whatever it is, right? They got one moment, man. They got one moment. There's one time on their clock each and every single damn day, and that time is now. Because if you don't do it now, that eventually is going to end up being never. Guys, life, as long as it seems to pass at some point, right, is, when you're in kind of a rough spot and it just seems like it is dragging on forever in the moment, then you blink an eye at the same time, and it's like, holy shit, 5 years passed, 10 years passed. So if I'm going to urge and challenge you guys anything, is that if you have some bucket list, if you have some list of eventuallys, even if it's just that one big eventually, make it a point, guys. You just have to start. You have to get the wheels in motion. Do something today that will take that eventually and at least put you in a position where you're starting by taking that first step, because that's what's needed to gain the momentum. If you never take that first step, your train's not going to go forward. Your vessel isn't moving in the right direction. You're standing still. Maybe you're moving backwards and you're hanging on to those eventuallys. Don't live in the world of eventuallys. Live in the world of, I'm going to act right now and I'm going to figure this shit out as I go, right? Because the biggest reason for an eventually is a various number of excuses, right? The biggest reason for eventually is that, I don't have the time for that right now. I don't have the money for that right now. I just don't have the energy to allocate to this right now. So eventually I'm going to get to it, right? Those are the big things that create that eventually word. Time, money, energy. And there's probably a couple others that can vary person to person, right? But put those excuses, put those reasons to bed and find a way to say, hey, you know what? This means a lot to me, man. This is something I've been thinking about forever. I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to start it today. Just kick that eventually word out your damn vocab, right? Find yourself, catch yourself. I still do it, guys. Sometimes I say that word too. And when I say it, I catch myself. And when I say eventually, I'm like, shit, I got to do something right now. Hold, pause, please, take my calls, do whatever you gotta do. I gotta sit down and hammer something out. Put something on paper, right? For those of you that struggle to start, if you struggle to start something, get a piece of paper, get a notepad, get a pen, and just write it all down. Write it down. I felt like Negan on The Walking Dead there. Write it shit down, right? I'm gonna shut that shit down. God, I can't wait for The Walking Dead to come back, guys. But get your pad of paper, get your pen, and just write it down. I'm gonna start saying that. Write it down. I like that. I like that. Yeah, but write it down, guys. Write it down. Write it down. Because if you don't have that series of steps, like that blueprint in front of you, man, it's not easy, and it can create the realm of possibility for that eventually word to exist, right? Think of it like I always talk about building a house, right? I always talk about building a house and how, you know, if you take somebody that's not in carpentry and has, like myself, right? If you put me in front of, if you were to say, hey man, I need you to build a damn house. Build me a damn house. You got 1 year to do it. Build the house. I'd be like, are you kidding me? Hey, I can't do that. That's crazy talk. Yeah, in my mind, I just picture the house, right? You picture that final product, and it's so overwhelming that's something that's like, yeah, I'm gonna get around to that eventually. And you put it off, you put it off, you put it off, and then eventually you got 1 week left on that 1 year timeline, and you're like, shit, I didn't do anything. Well, that's done, right? But what a carpenter will do, right? And a contractor and all that, right? When it comes to building a house, you know, they don't see just the house. They don't envision just the house, because otherwise you're gonna get overwhelmed. No. A house it's broken down to all these different blueprints and plans and intricate step by step steps to take, right? That when you just gotta start, right? You start at step 1. You know, maybe you gotta dig the foundation and you gotta lay the foundation, and then you just kind of slowly build your way up. But it's like with Legos, guys, right? It's like with Legos, same thing. Building a house, Legos, right? You get a big intricate, anybody with kids will know what I mean, right? You get this big intricate Lego castle that you gotta build, right? And you see the final product in the box and you're like, shit, man, that's, geez, how am I gonna do that, right? But then you get out them damn instructions, and you know what? Those are overwhelming too, but at least you can kind of take a breath and slow down, and guess what? There's step 1, there's step 2, there's step 3, and there's step freaking 10,022, right? Bottom line though, it's a step by step by step, and when you break it down to that step by step by step, all of a sudden it's not so overwhelming, and it's easy to start. And before you know it, you're kind of into it, man. You're kind of like, damn, all right, you're kind of like hungry to get through the steps because you want to get to that final product and see how much easier that is, as opposed to just like, here's a picture of a castle and go build it. That's overwhelming, and it's that type of mindset, and it's that type of setup that can cause that eventually word to just seriously like cripple any forward progression. So eventually it's not absolutely never, guys. You know, find a way to kick that eventually word out of the vocab. Again, you got something you want to do, you've been thinking about it, you've been saying eventually, or a word that's synonymous with eventually, right? Sit down, write it out, come up with a, hey, what's a long-term, what are some big long-term steps that will get me there? What are the big things that I need to accomplish to get to the end goal? And then what can I do to break that down to daily tasks, maybe even hourly tasks, and just set that plan in motion, guys. Because you don't want to be on your deathbed. You don't want to be on your deathbed, you know, 80 years old, 90 years old, hey, maybe 100. I want to live to be like 180. So for me, when I'm 180 on my deathbed looking back, you know, I don't want to be sitting like, oh man, I can't believe I never did that. I can't believe I never at least tried or set that plan in motion. I can't believe I let that opportunity pass, right? You don't want to be that person. If you're using that damn eventually word, you're going to be that person, I promise. All right, guys, man, it's Friday. I'm full of it today. Go out there and kick some ass. Go out there and take, you know, kick ass, take names, make it happen. Make today the day that you start writing things down on paper so that you can set things off in motion. And remember, guys, you're playing for the long game, it's not the short game. So understand that when you write those things down and you set them in motion, don't expect instant results. Understand that it will take time. Greatness takes time. Rome wasn't built overnight. Whatever other cliche phrase you want to come up with, it takes time. All right, so get it done. Facebook, I love you.